regarding Joey Porter. Joey Porter Sr. was on Cameron Hayward's podcast, and he had this to say about Ben Roethlisberger during his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2004 2006. He said, quote, Seven definitely broke the brotherhood. The shit that Seven did that we don't talk about is crazy. Out of anybody, he should never grab a microphone and really talk about Steelers business, because if we're talking about Steelers business, his ass is foul of all foul. Like the shit that he did is foul of all foul. He's not a good teammate. Won a Super Bowl with him, but the person, he's just not a good teammate. Like, he knows that. Anybody in the Steeler building knows that. But we protected him because I've only won one Super Bowl, and that was my quarterback. So do I love my quarterback? Yeah. But is he a good person? No. And when asked why he felt Roethlisberger was a bad teammate, Porter mentioned that Roethlisberger did not sign autographs for teammates' family members during his rookie season. Porter, a team captain at the time, decided to have a meeting with Roethlisberger after he specifically declined to sign something for defensive end Aaron Smith. Porter goes even further. Who the hell is too cool to sign for your teammate? Alluding to former teammate and Hall of Fame running back Jerome Bettis and his constant willingness to do things for teammates and fans. I also looked at it like this. Look at the team when Joey was a captain, when Jerome was a captain, when Hines Ward was captain. You heard nothing in the locker room. Captains have to do captain shit, right? We voted to be captains. You had to be voted in. He came in an era where he just gave you a seat, because if he wasn't a captain, he probably would have a hissy fit, but nobody's going to vote for him as a captain because he didn't have no captain qualities. And look, man, I will say this. I don't know what's going on, but to me, it seems like people are really paying attention to my content, because I said last week regarding the Hall of Fame, if you're going to keep Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of their character, whether on or off the football field, I mentioned, are you going to do the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger? Because next year, he's going to be eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And based on the Pro Football Hall of Fame, based on his merit, yes, he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But let's keep in mind them off the field issues, Lake Tahoe, Nevada, and Milledgeville, Georgia, in which he was accused of sexual assault. Now, in 2010, regarding the one in Milledgeville, Georgia, he was suspended for 4 games. It was previously 6, but it was reduced to 4. And to your point, Champ, you mentioned the following year, thank God, Ben Roethlisberger, the following year, the NFL lockout. Because you mentioned that Pittsburgh, they was looking to move on from Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, they was about to trade him to Arizona. They was about to trade him, and said they was about to trade him to Arizona.
So
he wasn't the only one that said, that. Remember, him and Hines Ward had some issues going on.
Yeah, Hines Ward. And Hines Ward is known as a consummate professional.
Yeah. So him and Hines Ward had some things going on. And not to mention, man, he wasn't when Joey Porter came out, when guys come out and say that you're right, that's a whole other thing. Because like I always say, everybody ain't lying. So since then, the players that have come out and said something has been, let me see, Mason Rudolph, who's currently still on the team, Patrick Queen, Mike Adams, and Mike Mitchell, and KJ Green. So everybody ain't lying, especially when you talk about a coach. And Joey Porter, in closing, brought up a valid point. How the hell are you going to sit around here and talk about a coach who the best things that happened to you happened under his watch? Remember, although Ben Roethlisberger won a Super Bowl with his first couple of years, it wasn't because of him.
It was because of the defense primarily. He didn't even play that well in that first Super Bowl.
It was because of the defense and that running. And when you really look at him statistically, especially under Bill Cowher, those first couple years, it was atrocious to say the least. Now, the eye test will tell you something different. But the thing is, during his first couple years, up under Bill Cowher, remember, he 11 interceptions his first year, 9 his second year, 23 his third year. Mike Tomlin comes in 2007, 32 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Remember, he had his first 5,000-yard season in 2018 under Mike Tomlin. He had two of his greatest seasons, 2014, which he threw for almost 5,000, and then 2018, which he threw for 5,000. Each one of those, his stats were progressively better under Cowher than they were under Mike Tomlin than they were under Cowher. And even when he was bad to the fullest extent of bad in the 2020 year, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, we all knew they was on the downhill slide. We all knew they might have went 12-3, 12-4, but we all knew that team was going to hit a wall eventually.
Yeah,
They still was there. I'm glad Joey Porter said something. When Joey Porter say things, people speak. And not only was he a player on that team, people always think about that he was also a coach for that team.
he was. He was
for
a good
2000
football player during his time in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I always say Pittsburgh, when it comes to Pittsburgh, I will always say it's the system, not the linebackers. Because when you think about that system, when you think about those linebackers that they had with Joey Porter, it was Joey Porter, Jason Gildon, James Ferrier, Larry Foote, and Kendrell Bell from my Georgia Bulldogs. That was one of the best linebacker coaches you ever want to see. But he was also a coach. So for somebody to play with you and also coach that team, they know the ins and outs of that organization. They know the ins and outs of you. So, and the thing is, why would you come out and say something about your former coach anyway? I mean, if anything, unless it was just something egregious that he did. It's never been anything egregious that Mike Tomlin has did.
Well, Ben, right now, obviously, he's doing what we're doing as podcasting, and Ben's entitled to his opinion. But just because he's entitled to his opinion, does that make him necessarily right? No. But do you think with these comments from Joey Porter, as well as other comments from Ben Champ, do you think that will keep Ben out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
The thing is, he has to wait at least 2 to 3 years. The thing is this.
No, he's next year.
Yeah, well, he has to wait for another 2 to 3 years. I know he's up for it next year, but he has to wait for a couple 2 to 3 years.
Wait a minute, I'm confused.
No.
I thought
they have to make him wait for at least 2 to 3 years. That's what I'm trying to say. They have to make him wait.
You think because of the off the field issues, they're gonna make him wait?
Absolutely. If you're gonna hold T.O. out because he said some shit on the sideline, excuse my language.
I know that, Champ, but
you're gonna hold him out, I'm not talking about you specifically.
Okay.
If you're gonna hold Terrell Owens out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for damn near 3 years because he did sit-ups in his driveway. I got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. And I was doing sit-ups in my driveway all because I wanted a new contract. And this blank goes in after that situation. My thing is, and the thing was, unlike, I hate to use this as an example, but I must. When you look at the difference between how the late, great Kobe Bryant handled his case and how Ben Roethlisberger's handled his, it was pretty much day and night. Kobe never ran from that situation, even when he was asked about it. He never ran it. He answered every question. He answered it in accordance to what he felt like. He even brought up in his documentary before he died, The Muse. This was when he had his Achilles injury. The Muse. He even brought up in the documentary about how his wife, the Queen, Vanessa Bryant, she had a miscarriage because of that case, and he blamed himself because of it. When you really look at how he handled his situation when he was accused of that versus how Ben Roethlisberger handled it, and he was running away from it, we're not going to talk about football, we're not going to talk about anything. Guess what? It was a clear contrast of how they both handled it. And he was suspended for it. So
not just that, Champ. Ben, with his situation, you heard it with Kobe's situation. After that incident, we didn't really hear any legal off the court issues with Kobe.
No, he didn't.
Ben, we heard Lake Tahoe, Nevada in 2008, and we also heard Millersville, Georgia in 2010. So Ben, we knew it was well documented. He had off the field issues. BRF, the only reason why I muted you because there was the noise in the background, not because of you or anything personally, is because there was too much noise from the background. So that's why I kind of muted you. I apologize
Oh,
for that.
okay. Oh no, that's okay.
Right.
And he had an incident when he was in college as well, to my knowledge.
Ben.
He had an
And Ben, and let's not
incident.
forget the motorcycle incident. Remember when Ben was operating a motorcycle with no helmet this was after when the Steelers won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, towards ACL. Like I said, he has a lot of incidents. He had an incident with, like I said, back in college. That's how come he ended up in Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had that incident. So my thing is this: if they're gonna talk about, holding out T.O., then he better have did. If you gonna hold me out for requesting a new contract.
But would you be surprised though if he was if he was voted in? I wouldn't be surprised, Champ, because again, there's gonna be certain people in the media that are gonna like him, and plus, it is Pittsburgh.
Again, I understand that, but the thing is this:
no,
if
I understand.
Talk about character issue. No, I'm not talking about you.
No. I understand that. I know I'm not talking about you. I understand. To your point, yes, it is unfair because again, Terrell Owens, he had no off the field issues, no domestic violence, no SA accusations, none of that stuff. Do I think it's hypocritical for the NFL to put in Ben Roethlisberger into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, given the accusations? Absolutely. And that's why I get offended when people say that the media doesn't play a role. Of course they play a role. And Shannon Sharpe, remember, he was there in the Pro Football Hall of Fame room when Brett Favre's name was mentioned. And even though we agreed that Brett Favre should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we can't ignore Favre's issues. Favre did have had the Vicodin addiction. Now, again, I'm not mad at that because, again, we all understand addiction. We can emphasize with that. What we can emphasize was the situation in New York with Jen Sturger. We can't emphasize how the fact Brett Favre in his last few years in Green Bay, he couldn't make up his mind whether he gonna play or he gonna retire or he gonna do all this other stuff. So with Ben, I understand to your point, Champ, if we're gonna hold everyone to that same standard, that should apply to Ben Roethlisberger. But the thing is, you always say, Champ, narrative. Don't be surprised if certain people in the media that probably would vote Ben in because of what he accomplished in Pittsburgh. And if you're judging Ben Roethlisberger on the field, then yes, he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can't deny it. Neither can BRF. Neither can anybody else. Now, do I think he's a first ballot? No. I think elites are for people that the first ballot goes for people who changed the game, transcended. You have to bring something unique compared to the rest of your contemporaries. I don't see Ben Roethlisberger as that. I see very good. But I do believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. But again, you factored off the field issues, and you mentioned Terrell Owens. I mentioned Randy Moss, Champ, and even Randy Moss even called out the voters of the Hall of Fame. And I'm proud that Randy Moss actually did that because he knows greatness when he sees it. And Randy Moss, I'm sorry, the reason why I bring up Randy Moss, and I am not in any way saying that Randy Moss does not belong in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What I'm saying is, compared to T.O., he had an easier path because of his involvement with media. And working with Fox and working with ESPN. So because of that, Randy Moss, in my opinion, had preferential treatment. And I feel like with Ben, he's going to get preferential treatment. Because since those off the field issues, he's cleaned up his reputation. We haven't heard anything since from Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, now if this were Antonio Brown, although we believe he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, in the words of Vince McMahon, ain't no chance in hell. There's no chance in hell his ass is getting to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He'll eventually get in there. He will
AB.
eventually. Yeah, he'll eventually get in there because look. Hey, I'm just gonna be real. They've let in guys with worse reputations than him. Remember, Bobby Lane, he wasn't a pastor at any church. Remember, Bullet Bob Hayes, he went to jail for a substantial amount of time. So there's a lot of guys who had a lot of off the field issues that basically was able to get into the Hall of Fame. We
I
had
get
a,
I
we
get
got
that.
a lot of guys, but this is the social media era.
That's
So
what I
it's a
was
little
trying
bit
to
different.
I was trying to
But
tell you.
you know,
You got to factor social media, and it's more memorable with social media. And they're gonna look at the situation with Tom Brady and how he left. Remember, champ,
yeah,
Tom Brady. If it were not for him, AB would not be in the NFL. He would not have been with Tampa. Hell, he even invited Tom Brady to live with him.
yeah.
What
And Tom,
person would you have AB live at your place?
he can't pitch a 10 outside in the damn yard, much less in my damn house. So that's just how it goes. He can't sit. He can't. You can't sit in a Kenmore box outside my home, much less in my damn 1-bedroom apartment. So no, you can't stay in here. So like I said, I believe eventually he'll make it in. We've seen a lot of guys with a lot more character issues, never to that extent where they quit on the field. I think that will be forever indelibly etched in the voters' mind that he quit on the field before he walked out. But I think eventually it'll get in. Now he gonna be damn near. Uh, I think
80?
he's gonna get the Kenny Stabler's treatment. Remember how they did Kenny Stabler? Although you can't write the history of the NFL without him, they waited till he was gone in order to induct him in. But by all accounts, he should have been in the Hall of Fame. But he's gonna get the Kenny Stabler treatment because people didn't like Kenny Stabler's demeanor. He wasn't the typical milk drinking quarterback. He was a little bit rough around the edges. But I think he's gonna get the Kenny Stabler treatment. I won't even call it the Kenny Stabler treatment. I call it the Oakland Raider treatment. Although he was a Steeler, he's gonna get the Oakland Raider treatment. He's not going to get the just due because you can't write the history of the NFL without Antonio. Antonio was one of the greatest during his time. He was on. And look, I wish he would have kept this act together because he was not a big receiver. He was only 5'10", 5'11" at best, and he was that guy. Well, it was him and Julio Jones for the 2010s. It was him, Julio Jones, and Megatron.
Yes.
Those were the guys. So you can't write the history of the NFL without him. But at the same time, they'd rather people remember you in their own way than to put you in the Hall of Fame when you haven't, really, conducted yourself with class and dignity. But by all accounts, those seasons that he had, he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. But can't blame him if he don't put him in there.
BRF.
Honestly, this Ben Roethlisberger slander as of late. I mean, I hate to say it's kind of justified, but it's kind of justified with just you hear the story. I mean, Joey Porter coming out and telling the stories as far as like how he treated his teammates, and you heard about it, throwing the teammates under the bus. Like he had his own like radio show where he would go on there weekly and he'd have his platform to do that. Like, how are you, if you're a player and a young player, because I think when James Washington was like a rookie with Pittsburgh, he made a bad play trying to catch a ball, and Ben Roethlisberger called him out on his show like that week. Is like, man, what does stuff like that do to a person's like psyche? You're just going out there, you want to have a shot to play, get on the team. You want to have an opportunity to make plays like most of the other wide receivers, and then if your star quarterback is calling you out, that kind of like that deflates you as a man. That deflates you as a player because it's like, how are you gonna go out? If the guy I need to get me the ball in order to produce, if he doesn't believe in me, then where do I go from here? Like a lot of young guys would just take that, and you hope it wouldn't break them, but I mean, it would be a justified reason as far as like feeling why it would break them, because I mean you're just out trying to make plays. As far as the Hall of Fame is concerned, like when you look at the nominees going into next year, I feel like the two the two locks, because I think PSP put it best when it's like you have to transcend your position. You have to you have to stand out. You have to be transcended at your position. If you look at the players that are going to be first year eligible, if you're using that criteria, there's two locks, and that's Adrian Peterson and Rob Gronkowski. Two locks. That's it. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is a lock. But if you want to look at it like on the field as far as gameplay, he's as close to lock as you're gonna be without being a lock. When you look at the career and the passing.
Yeah, it seems like BRF is having some technical difficulties.
Okay, I'm
you
back.
good, BRF?
I'm back.
Okay, cool, cool.
It's back. It's because I got my mic plugged in, but I'm good. It went out on me for a brief moment, but I'm back now.
Okay. But continue to your point, because you mentioned about the Pro Football Hall of Fame next year. The two first ballot locks are Adrian Peterson and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah,
Ben, I don't believe
yes,
he'll
sir.
get in. I don't believe he'll get in on the first ballot. If he had won a league MVP or two, maybe. Look, Kurt Warner didn't even get on the first ballot, and he's been to 3 Super Bowls and he's won two league MVPs. Some people will take it for granted because he did play with the greatest show on turf in St. Louis with Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. Still shocking to me, Torrey Holt is still not even in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But,
I think with Kurt Warner, though, I think with his saving grace, as far as what ultimately what got him into the Hall of Fame, even though he had those years with St. Louis and all that talent around him, what got him into the Hall of Fame is what he did with the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh yeah, because he was the best quarterback that he had for Larry Fitzgerald.
Exactly. I feel like what he did with Arizona, with that squad, because I mean, granted, yeah, he had Larry Fitzgerald, but when you look at that offensive talent at Arizona outside of Larry Fitzgerald, it was okay, but it wasn't what he had with the Rams. You know, you had Isaac Bruce on one side, you had Torrey Holt on the other side, you had peak Marshall Faulk behind you. So, like, what he had in Arizona was nothing compared to what he had with the Rams, and to be able to come out of no,
Was
no, it wasn't. No,
you
it
had
wasn't.
you
No, it
had
wasn't.
no. You had Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Bregman.
I am not putting Anquan Bolden on an Isaac Bruce Torrey Holt level. I am not. He's
Anquan
good.
Bolden's not a Hall of Famer.
I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not Isaac Bruce Torrey Holt good. I am not going there. No. Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt was the undisputed, unquestioned best duo in the league at one point. I'm not putting Anquan, but he was good. But he's not on their level. He's not on their level.
You had 2 All-Pros in the form of Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald.
Anquan Bolden is not on Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt's level. He is not.
All right, fellas. I think it's fair to say with Ben Roethlisberger, because again, we got like 26 minutes left because I got to try to hurry up and cut these clips. But I think with Ben is, look, he was a great football player during his time in Pittsburgh, but there's no doubt about it. He wasn't the greatest teammate, and certainly off the field, he didn't conduct himself as the model citizen. Those things are true with Ben Roethlisberger. Champ, do I think they're going to make Ben Roethlisberger wait? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because you say, yeah, because if Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft didn't get in, and look, Bill Polian, in my opinion, he used his platform because of being around the Colts and how the Patriots dominated in the 2000s while he was the team general manager and president for the Colts. And also he used to work for ESPN, so he knows them Hall of Fame voters pretty well. And again, you also mentioned the fact that he cheated as well. So, if Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft didn't get in and they had to wait, why would it be any different with Ben Roethlisberger? So,
because the media found a way to get him in. But I'm with you. I don't think he'll get in because I think there are other guys that aren't in that I think that are like you. There are too many guys that hasn't got in that has a really good case as far as why it wouldn't shock me if Ben Roethlisberger didn't get in. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see until next year. You just never know with this media and how they like to vote.
At this point, we don't even know what a Hall of Famer is, and that's a damn shame.